Okay, we're on the bottom actually of page 104, or Nun Beis Amid Beis. This begins a new Maamer. Maamer says that its objective is to understand the posuk in Shir HaShirim that reads, "It is better your love than wine." Now we have a statement that says that it is sweeter upon me, and that's important, alai, the words of the authors, the Rabbanan, more than the wine of Torah. Now we have to understand, why is it used the word alai? And seemingly the more proper word would be li, it's sweeter to me. Why does it say it is sweeter upon me? Now the pasuk tells us that we have to love Hashem, our God, for He is our life, meaning that's the reason why we should love Hashem. That the word because here suggests the reason, the cause and effect. This is the explanation why we should love Hashem, our God, because He is our life. That which Hashem dispatches, the Matzil Elyon, is the source of life, and it is the source of all. Now, the word is tainugim. It's most commonly translated as pleasures, but it really means in a sense of being aligned with Hashem. Like it says, together with you, or with you is the source of life, and from you all comes. That from you it is derived all of life and all of this alignment in all stages, the stages of Atzilus, total awareness of Hashem, Bria, awareness of creation, Yetzirah, more focused on the particulars of creation, and ultimately Asiya, the life source of all of that is still Hashem, the life of all lives. So when a person will think about this will arouse within him a love for Hashem, that just like a person loves to be alive, that is their greatest impulse. So too, they love the source of that life, which is Hashem. But this is a love that is born of reason. I mean, I love Hashem because He gives me life. It's not yet Mesiras Nefesh that is described in the posuk. When it says with all of your soul, with all of your everything, that this has come from a reason that because He's my life, so therefore it's not considered a full-on form of total love. That is, I love life. Hashem is life, so therefore I love Hashem. It's not a love of Hashem, it's a love of what Hashem provides me. But when we talk about the very essence of Hashem, which cannot be described at all, it can't even be categorized as the lofty level of Chochma. Like we say, all is made with Chochma. That Chochma is, the way we understand it, is as tangible and non-evidently godly as something material, from whence it is drawn this quality of Mesiras Nefesh that exists within every Jew, because it is invested within his neshama, that is aligned and is beyond any explanation, that he would surrender himself to Hashem without requiring any type of explanation, simply because of the essential love he has to Hashem, that Hashem is the exclusive existence, and there is nothing else that can compete with it. Like it says, I am Hashem, I do not change, whether I created the world, after I created the world, there is no change, there is no impact. And this love is that I do not want to be separated from Hashem at all, at any level. And therefore I love Him with all my soul, with all my everything, and I surrender myself to Him beyond any reason or explanation. And this is the bond and the very essence and fabric of Hashem that is beyond anything that we can describe. Next paragraph. We're on Nun Gimel Amud Aleph in the very right-hand side in the middle. Now, this love and Mesiras Nefesh exists within every Jew, within his ability, but it's hidden away. And in order to evoke it from its hidden until it's revealed is through the wine of Torah. Like we have the rule that when wine goes in, the secrets go out. And what is the secret? What is the essence? What is the foundation of a Jewish soul? Is his love for Hashem. And when we will put the wine of Torah into it, that is through the fulfillment of Torah and Mitzvos, regarding with or resulting in the revelation of this otherwise hidden love, that it comes from hidden to revealed, from that which was in every single Jew, simply by his very existence, that he is inspired with the love of Hashem. Now on Shabbos, it also reveals this love of Hashem. It becomes evident. 6 days we work, the 7th day we Shabbos, because Hashem created the world with the statements, 10 of them. And therefore, that even the idea of Bereshis being the first of the 10 statements, it's still only a statement. It's not the essence of Hashem. And like it says in Sefiros, that the Chochma manifests itself down here into the world in which it was created. Like a person who's doing something, they're writing or they're making a picture or whatever it is that they're doing, they have to invest and direct their seichel and their thoughts into that artwork that they are engaged in. And then it returns back to the very essence. So too, during the 6 days of creation, Hashem invests his very identity into creating the world. And on Shabbos, Hashem doesn't invest himself in that sense. It is simply the level that is even higher. It goes to the very essence that is more personal, as opposed to the person or comparable to the person who's engaged in their artwork. And then they sort of pull back and they simply engage with it in its completed form. And therefore on Shabbos, the love that a Jew has for Hashem, which is absolute and all-inclusive, though sometimes hidden, becomes revealed. And this is through the person investing or ingesting the wine of Torah, that is the fulfillment of mitzvahs, the way they are the expression of God's ultimate desire, beyond any rational explanation. And through this Ratzon, we arouse within the person the revelation of what is there already, their innate love of Hashem, which is the ava and the passion that is beyond Chochma or any explanation. And this is what it means when the wine goes in, the secrets come out. And now we understand this idea that it is even more rich, almost like delicious, the words of the Rabbanan than the wine of Torah. And again, it is more delicious, olai, on me, not to me, but upon me. What is this upon me? This is the mitzvahs themselves, which are called, again, the wine of Torah. Now, when we make a bracha, for example, that is bracha before a mitzvah, is a rabbinic idea. It's even higher in a certain sense than the fulfillment of the mitzvah. Like it says in the Eitz Chaim, that through the mitzvah, we draw down an or panimi that is invested within a very specific action. As we discussed in the previous Maamer, the hand of the tefillin, the lulav, etc. But the bracha that is on the mitzvah, we draw down a level of light that is even higher than the or panimi, and therefore it can't be invested within a specific. And that's why our sages say that every mitzvah you make the bracha over lasiyasan. In context, it means before you make it. But in our context, it means upon it, like higher than it. The idea that it is above it. And this is the idea that areivim olai divrei sofrim. It is more rich upon me, the words of the Rabbanan, not just to me. Because olai means that this that is drawn down through the bracha is makif. It's all-encompassing. And that's what it means, that it is on me. It is even richer than the wine of Torah, which is only the or panimi. And it is sweet to me, and so on. That which is drawn down through the bracha, which is divrei sofrim, because making brachas is a rabbinic idea, is olai as opposed to li, as opposed to internalized. What does it mean, this idea of a bracha? So we say the standard bracha, Baruch, means we draw it down from the highest and loftiest levels. And then it is brought down to atah, Baruch atah, to you, to a world where it's evident, like the word atah is identifiable. And what is that? That is havaya, which includes the whole process of development. Yud being the most compressed, expanded upon in the hay, drawn down in the vav, expanded upon down here. And that's why we say that the blessing of havaya is what makes a person wealthy. And by Avram, it says that he is a bracha, that the bracha is the level of havaya. And then we say, Elokeinu melech haolam, that we draw it down even into Hashem's direct connection with us as melech haolam, which is from Atzilis, which is the lowest level of Atzilis, of Malchus. Asher, the next word in the bracha, meaning rich, in context means that, but the word Asher meaning rich, it is this richest level, in order that he makes us sanctified through the mitzvahs that Hashem puts on tefillin, like we put on tefillin, and we become aligned with Hashem. So in the bracha, you have Ratzoi, the idea that we are sort of leaving this world, and Shuv, we bring it back into this world, to bring it down into the most pragmatic, just like we declare Hashem Baruch at the loftiest level, all the way down to the most pragmatic, the most tangible. At first, it's different, it's distant, and we are sort of fearful of approaching it. Who can approach Hashem? And then through the mitzvahs, we bring him back down here into this world. That is, while it is true that who am I that I should do a mitzvah? However, Hashem really likes the mitzvahs. So at first, I'm awed by the concept, I should do a mitzvah. It's mati b'loy mati. It's sort of moving, but not moving. that is initially there's sort of this detachment. I'm seeing Hashem as distant and far away from me. Then, as I go through the process of the bracha, I bring Hashem down into a relationship with me, into something very specific. And that's why there has to be this sudalasata. We have to begin this process. We have to run towards it and then come back. And that's what makes it so sweet or rich, alai upon me, these words of the Rabbanan, which are rooted in the rabbinic dictate of making brachas, this level of sofer, the authors, like we said, aye sofer, where is the sofer from the previous Maamer, that is higher even than the wine of Torah Shebichsav, which is only, quote unquote, the sefer, the book, whereas the sofer, the author, is something greater. That ends this Maamer. On the second half of the left-hand column of Daf Nun Gimel, there's a new Maamer. The Maamer is based on a posuk in Yeshayahu, chapter 38, posuk Yud Ches 18, and the posuk reads, "Libecha yega ema eya sofer eya shekel." To you, my heart is longing. It says in the Zayar, in the Sefiros, Nusa takim et kola. It stumbles on a bump. This is the idea of the Kav Hamida, that we, instead of the smooth, infinite Hashem, we start to have specificity, which measures out all of the Sefiros of Atzilus into specific measurements. And it spreads out from there, as we talked about earlier in the previous Maamer, that we have the concept of chesed that then becomes the behavior of chesed, gevura, and so forth, spread out in all forms and all directions. And that's why the Sefiros are also referred to as midos, measurements, and measurers. That is, they dispatch through measurement. And this is the level of gevura and tzimtzum, to compress it into something that is identifiable through the measuring kav, the line of the midah, that has the infinite Hashem. How does the infinite Hashem manifest himself down here into the physical world? We can't deal with infinite. So Hashem compresses himself into the finite, which is described in the Zayar as stumbling on this bump. Excuse me. Which again is the idea of gevura. You start to put things together through the investiture, regarding which it says, Ayah Sefer, Ayah Shekel, where is the author? Where is the measurer? That since it requires measurement and direction, that is the purview of gevura and tzimtzum relative to atzmis, which is of course immeasurable and unknowable and stripped down of alls. But it's there, sort of, it retains that character and that flavor. If so, we would think that this kav amida is something completely separate. I mean, Hashem is infinite. Measurement, which brings it into this world, is defined. So how can infinite and finite come together? And that's why we say, Ayah Sefer, where is it? Meaning we know it's there, but we don't see it from here. Where is the measure? It is what is called the great circle. As a circle has no beginning and no end, yet it's a shape, yet it is defined, but yet it doesn't have an identity. It's like the idea where light and dark are all the same. It precedes any specificity that is measured out. It all comes, of course, ultimately from Hashem, and it is measured out through this process. And this is what it's alluded to in calling it Ayah. Ayah literally means where, but it's also a combination of Aleph down into the Yud K. The Aleph, which is the highest level of godliness that precedes creation, manifest in a tangible character of godliness, to divide it up into the specifics. Like it says, like Hashem says, I pass through Mitzrayim. I am not an angel. That Mitzrayim can't contain an angel. An angel is of an infinite character, and therefore it's limited to being infinite. Hashem in his essence, of course, is not limited even by not being limited, and therefore he can go into the physical. Now, Torah is also a form of tzimtzum, because the Torah only preceded the world by 2,000 years, by 2,000, not infinite. And Hashem himself is exalted and stripped down from any level of tzimtzum or of division. There's no beginning and there's no end. And therefore, Torah, which is only 2,000 years before, is included within the tzimtzum of the Kav Hamida. Like we know that every mitzvah has a specific shear. A sukkah can only be so high, tefillin have to be square, etc. But in its depth, the Ayah itself is the measurer. That is, the infinity of Hashem is so infinite it becomes finite. And that's why it's referred to in the posuk 3 times where it says, Aye. It says, where is he who counts? Where is he who weighs? Where is he who counts the towers? Aye is always Aye. Why 3? 3 times it says Kadosh, like the Targum Yonason describes it, that the Malachim say, Aye, Mikaim Kavayday. Where is this? Because the Malachim are infinite. They can only understand infinite. We are finite. We can only understand finite. But Hashem is infinite, truly, that he can even express himself in the finite. And this is what it means, that his heart is desirous. He longs for it. This is what that pasuk means. Your heart will meditate on this. It will long for it. That is, it will think about this idea, how, where is he who counts? Where is he who weighs? Where is he who counts the towers? That this level itself will measure out in all of the details that we find. And when a person recognizes that although he encounters godliness in something very particular, he understands that its essence is the infinity of Hashem. And as such, he will be so struck by it that he will have the full-on experience of Hashem. It won't just be a shallow fear that I won't have what I want if I don't obey Hashem, because that's not a reverence for Hashem. That's a fear of missing out and so forth. But as we say, Sof Davar, ultimately all will be heard, that Hashem will be feared because we hear it and because we comprehend it. That concludes that Maamer. And here on Gimel Amud Beis on the right-hand side, we have another Maamer. The Maamer begins with the quote also from Yeshaya, Haboim Yeshar Yaakov Yotzitz Ferech Yisrael. Those who came, who Jacob caused to take root, Israel flourished and blossomed. Now, we have to understand, what is this idea that they were rooted in Mitzrayim? Hashem has said that I've created Yaakov and I have formed, more particularly, Yisrael. That Hashem says, who created Yaakov? Who created Yaakov? And Yisrael, he was formed. We have to understand, why is Yaakov associated with Bria? More about Hashem, less about the creation. And why is Yisrael with Yetzirah? More about the particular. Isn't Yisrael greater than Yaakov? So we would have anticipated that Yisrael would be the world of Bria, the higher world, and Yaakov, the seemingly lesser level, would be the world of Yetzirah, the lesser world. So we know that Hashem comes down to this world because this is where the job gets done. The whole purpose is that Hashem created the world in order that we be able to do mitzvahs in it. So what is the connection of Yisrael to being the first of all of Hashem's harvest? And what is the idea of harvest for Hashem? So regarding mitzvahs, it tells us in the Zohar that they are garments that every Jew has to fulfill all the mitzvahs. That is, that the mitzvahs of the king does, and all of the mitzvahs that everybody has to do, they do in this iteration or some further iteration, in order that they'll be able to be sort of dressed in all the mitzvahs. And if one mitzvah is missing, one levush is missing. So what do? I'm not a king, I'm not the kohen gadol. So the neshama has to come down again and fulfill the mitzvah. And through the mitzvahs, we make a levush and ganein natachtin. And through the intent of the mitzvahs, we make a levush and ganein ha'elyon. And that's why Moshe wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael to do those mitzvahs. And the Gemara compares mitzvahs to fruits, because we find that by the unsolved murder, when they have the Eglah Rufa, we say that the person is not able to make any fruits, meaning they're not able to do mitzvahs. And the Gemara asks, what are those? Are they children? What if fruits? What do you mean he can't produce fruits? If fruits are children, what if he's already old anyway? But therefore the Torah says it means mitzvahs. What are the fruits are mitzvahs? And we have this in other psukim as well. And now we have to understand why we say that Hashem desired, this is the medrash that we all know, that Hashem desired that he should have a dwelling place in here in this world. So what is a dira for Hashem? What do you mean? Hashem is everywhere. He fills the heavens and earth. But there's two ways. There's ways that it's personal, mamalik olam, and a way that it's global, seviv kolam. Mamalik olam is called invested in the creations in a way that is evident, that he gives them life and they support everything through the level of atah, all of the letters. And the level of sev kolam is also in all creations, but it's hidden, it's concealed. It's not in a way that is evident. It's not begila. And that's why we say that a person has to make 100 brachas every day, because the bracha draws out from what is hidden into what is revealed. And this is why Baruch is like the word for bricha, a river that connects two places. It brings from the hidden to the revealed. And this is achieved through the oisius of Yud, Tzimtzum, Hey, Spashtus, as we have seen before, the shapes of the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which themselves illustrate how we go from the smallest letter of Yud down to the expanded level of Hey. And this revelation from hidden to concealed is dafka through the Jewish people. But like the posuk says, the household of Israel blesses Hashem, because every Jew has the ability to have Mesiras Nefesh, and that's why they're Beis Yisrael. They bless Hashem. He's ours, and so on, like we know. And it covers all the days, etc. Now, these brachas are verbal. And what will bring the hamshach, what will bring it out from the hidden to the revealed, that's through the mitzvah actions, like seed planting. That most of the seeds that you plant don't produce an actual edible fruit. But it's only the tasteless seed that can produce the delicious fruit. Why? Because it stimulates the power of growth that is otherwise hidden in the earth to create this fruit. That it shouldn't just be another tasteless seed, which is inedible, but rather it should be a fruit. The same is true when you plant wheat. Even though through the planting you add more wheat here and there, so too with mitzvahs that come down and invest themselves in physical things like tefillin in leather, tzitzis from wool, and so on, and all other mitzvahs. So when a Jew puts them on, he creates a revelation of godliness in the highest of levels, like we say in the explanation of what's written in the tefillin, and like the Zohar talks about with the talis, but it's only when he uses them for a mitzvah. If he just has his talis and tefillin sitting on the table, there's no revelation there. So too with any gashmis thing, or if chas v'shalom the goy puts them on, he's not creating any godliness there. Again, it would be just like taking the seed and putting it on the table. It's not going to grow. It has to be implanted in the earth, and the Jews are that earth that caused the godliness of the talis and tefillin to be revealed. And as we know that this level of Ein Sof is called, separated, and identified. I am Hashem, I do not change. Before the world, after the world, Hashem is beyond everything, and so on. But it's only through the character of Malchus that Hashem wants to be Melech, and in order to be a Melech, there has to be a people. That we should glorify his name like a Melech. That everybody who has their own independence voluntarily submits themselves to the king. So that's a bittul of yesh into ayin, that in order to serve the king, because without the people, there's not going to be a king. And these people are described as an am. And am in this context means like very smoldering coals, not big fiery coals, meaning that which is not innately aligned with the king. It's not like the king's officers or in the mashal, Hashem and the malachim, that all of the malachim bow down to him. But they're not separated from him. It's only the Jewish people, human beings, who could be separated from Hashem, who voluntarily surrender themselves. They are mevatel themselves voluntarily to Hashem's malucha. They go from being yesh, their own identity, which they could continue on and become ayin, which is not like a child whose father can't be his king because he's intuitively aligned with his father. And therefore, we are called the Eretz Chayfetz, the desired land. That's the true revelation and desire, that through the Jewish people, through their physical mitzvah activities, that they create some sort of blossoming. Like it says, a woman who fears Hashem, she shall be praised. That Hashem is called the bridegroom, and the Jewish people are called the bride. The woman who fears Hashem, she has the level of yira and bittul, and through this she is praised that she brings out the glory of godliness. Now we can go back to understanding the analogy of the posuk about they come and they take root with Jacob. That is, that the taking root down here is through the mitzvahs, through fulfilling Hashem's will to engage in physical activities. That's the Yaakov quality. Again, we anticipated that Yaakov would be associated with the lesser godliness, But ultimately, it's the higher godliness because Yaakov are taking the highest level, Yud, down to the Akev. And through this, it creates the blossoming amongst the Jewish people. And this is what it means that he plants righteousness, it will blossom with rescue. That through the planting, this level of mitzvahs and the tzedakah that everybody gives only for this virtue, for this merit, so certainly Hashem himself could just support people. Why did Hashem create a world where there has to be the giving of tzedakah? Is in order to give schus to the donor, that he should be able to produce through mitzvahs. And this is what David HaMelech meant when he said, of all ends, I see a conclusion, but mitzvahs are wide, meaning everything expires, but mitzvahs are forever. He's not talking about here only about gashmias and about things that he longs for, but every neshama has a limitation to what it can grasp. But mitzvahs, those are limitless, because the mitzvahs are limitless capacity to receive from the infinity of Hashem, that through the Maisa of mitzvahs, we can flourish and create so much more. That he can blossom to a level of Giloi B'li Gvul, to no limitations. And this is what David HaMelech meant when he said that unlike the neshama, which is innately limited, this is, mitzvahs are Rachava Mitzvasecha Mi'oid. The mitzvahs are exceedingly wide. They don't have this limit.